Story 1. Getting divorced. I had thought that if you tried hard enough, you could make a marriage work. I learned that you cannot always make it work. If you are with the wrong person or with someone who does not also try to make it work, nothing you do can overcome that. Story 2. My wife passed away at the age of 48 in her sleep 3.5 years ago. Thank you, everyone, for the kind words and condolences. It's very touching. Thank you, kind strangers. I never thought I would feel the love and kindness of so many people. It's good to see that there are people like you out in the world trying to make it a better place by showing compassion and love instead of hate and discourse. Thank you all so much. Hugs for everyone. Story 3. That my 18-year-old daughter would run away when she turned 18. She was my foster daughter at 18 months, and I adopted her and her 2 brothers when she was 6. We were literally best friends. Her biological mom tracked her down a month before she turned 18 and got in her head. A few days after New Year's, she left and moved 1,200 miles away. They lived 45 minutes from civilization near the Canadian border. Her biological mom took her phone away, and my daughter learned the hard way why she was in foster care to begin with. Took a year and a half to rescue her and get her home. The biological mom destroyed our family for that year and a half and damaged my daughter and her brothers. Story 4. Wow, quite a few things. Lost 2 jobs through no fault of my own. Got cheated on by my now ex-wife after supporting her for over 9 years through the most difficult times of her life with nothing but love, patience, and understanding. Being single with no kids in my mid-30s, living alone, and having to restart my life. Being the bigger man in many instances with my father. The roles have definitely reversed, and I have to continuously show him grace and understanding while he says and does stupid and insensitive things to or about me and my brothers. I do draw a line in the sand at times. I have gotten much better at setting boundaries, though I never imagined I would need to. Had panic attacks, specifically after the divorce and losing my job twice. I went through a few years of therapy and am continuously trying to manage my stress in healthy ways. Story 5. I never thought I'd age to weigh 300 pounds and be a maniac alcoholic, drug addict, and idiot, and that I'd then lose over 100 pounds in a 2-year period and become the most physically fit I have ever been at 65 years of age. Bonus. What has happened to me is that losing the weight and getting my life back isn't nearly all of it. My life is now better than it ever was, and I have absolute confidence it is going to be even better incrementally each day. I retired, and it almost killed me, but now I have a lot more to do. Story 6. I was always the guy making sure everyone took Ubers or stayed at my place. A random night out with friends. I accidentally drank too much, blacked out, and woke up as I was getting into a minor car accident. It is the weirdest and most shameful thing I have ever done. Story 7. Becoming disabled and suddenly. Prior to this, I was pretty healthy. Walked every day, ate well, worked out, had a good job, was married with 5 kids. COVID-19 then severely affected me. I can walk, but now I'm limited to a quarter mile per day, cannot work out, and have a host of health issues. Most likely, I'll recover, but my body is taking its time over it. Story 8. Find a woman who really genuinely loved me and wanted me around as much as I wanted her. I spent most of my life not dating, so when I found this person in my late 20s, it felt like a dream. Sadly, things ended, but it was an experience I wouldn't change for the world. Story 9. Mother passed away unexpectedly at 23. Rekindled my relationship with my father, whom I chose not to see for 10 years. Girlfriend of 3 years with whom I lived, left me at my lowest. Moved back in with family at 31. Story 10. Getting injured and then never being the same again. I always thought if I followed the doctor's orders and trained hard, I could fix anything that happened to me. But I got T-boned, and nothing but muscle and bone problems followed. I'm currently in bed nursing my hip because I re-aggravated the injury. To any young people here, work out, eat well, play a sport. It'll keep you young. I'm only 32. Story 11. One night stand with a solid 10 that I met at a bar. We were both drinking alone and I was making glances her way. She smiled. I sent her a drink. She came over and we chatted for half an hour. She invited me to her place for coffee. No coffee was consumed. Almost 20 years ago, but I still think about it regularly and fondly. Story 12. A girl I worked with one time, but I never talked to, randomly sent me a message on social media. She basically said she thought I was cute and wanted to go out with me. It was totally random but made me really happy. She was fun. Story 13. When I consider being assaulted by a girl who was older at the time, I remember being 16 years old and with this 20-year-old very pretty girl in the hay barn fooling around. Clothes came off, I was aroused, and she jumped on top of me, pinned me down and said out loud, "Let's make babies." She was moving while I was trying to push her off. Finally, I rolled her off just in time as I climaxed. It was my first time having sex, and it was not funny, just downright scary. It eventually became clear as she got older that there were mental issues. Story 14. Got stuck in a relationship with an abusive woman with borderline personality disorder for too many wasted years. I literally knowingly watched it happen, separating me from friends and family, belittling me to wear down my self-esteem, threatening to kill herself if I left. The gaslighting. You could check off the abuser's playlist every step of the way. Took professional help to get me out. Story 15. Getting raped at knife point by a woman you trust multiple times in multiple ways, then she got pregnant from it. I will never be the same. It feels impossible to talk to anyone about it because I feel like nobody will believe me or support me. I would give anything to forget what she did. It scares me thinking about the day when she sends me a child support letter or takes me to court to make me pay her. Her mother could easily get the best lawyers in the state, but I can't even buy a coffee. I want to be okay again. Story 16. Own a house. Grew up dirt poor in the ghetto. Moved 14 times from apartment to apartment growing up. Could only dream of having a house. Our family was finally able to put a down payment on one when I was 17. I paid off the mortgage over 25 years. A lot of hard work, but now it's mine. Story 17. As depressing as this sounds, I thought my chances of finding a girlfriend were as good as winning the lottery. My self-worth was in the toilet for my whole life until I was about 27. A childhood spent as my family's therapist and an emotionally and physically absent workaholic father left me in the gutter of confidence and worth in this world. I luckily met an amazing woman who broke that cycle for me and allowed me to heal through her constant support and understanding. I truly got lucky with her, so I now give that to any stranger who shares their trauma with me. I love helping people through horrible childhood experiences. Story 18. Tinnitus. I liked concerts but always wore earplugs. One electronic dance music show was crazy loud, and one of my earplugs felt strange, but I ignored it. I thank my lucky stars that it's only in one ear, and it got much better over time. Now it's barely noticeable, and only when I'm in silence. Even then, most days I don't hear any ringing. In the weeks following the concert, I was freaking out. Would I never experience silence again? Am I going to be on my deathbed hearing this incessant ringing? At one point, I cried. I mourned the damage to my hearing. Since it got better, though, I just use it as a lesson to listen to myself and be good to myself. I feel really bad for people that have it nonstop and really loud. Story 19. Several events in my life include my fiancé passing away in a car accident a few days after my birthday and about a month before our wedding. Losing my reserve officers training corps scholarship because I gained too much weight during the 1990s drawdown. They were looking for reasons to dismiss people. Having to repay the United States government all the money. Getting divorced. Getting remarried and taking custody of my wife's grandchildren because her daughter had issues with meth and pills. One child was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. We suspect it is reactive attachment disorder as she gets older. Gaining significant weight due to stress from the above events, then losing it in a year. Driving a Caterpillar D9 bulldozer because it seemed like fun. Being terminated by a billionaire, only to be rehired and refired several more times before he passed away. Experiencing my first appellate argument before the Delaware Supreme Court. Flying to California on one of our clients' jets, who is certifiably unstable, with him as the pilot. Chartering a helicopter to fly some engineers to a small, unstable production platform about 9 miles south of Galveston in the middle of the Gulf, reaching a point where I consider a deal under 7 figures to be small. Preparing for a jury trial that I discovered only a week before it was scheduled. The list goes on. Story 20. Love, to be honest. I am naturally very loud, like my talk is a normal shouting level. I am not good looking, about a 2 out of 10, a nerd, and so on. I kept saying to myself that there's no way she thinks of me in that way. For about a week. She is not here anymore, but I hold out hope it might happen again, and she will look down with a smile. Story 21. I got super sick in 2023 and had to spend 5 days in the hospital. I was 32 at the time. I almost died. Getting sick never even crossed my mind as how I'd die. It wasn't COVID-19 either. Story 22. Get married. It was not legal for me to marry my chosen partner where I live for the first 39 years of my life. As of next month, my husband and I will have been together for 16 years, legally married for 8. Story 23. Divorce, even while it was happening, I wanted to try and make it work, but I am glad it happened. I now know what it is like to date someone who actually likes me, and it is so refreshing. Story 24. Being debt-free in my 40s has changed my life forever. Coupled with a good-paying job in a relatively low-cost-of-living area, I feel like I am doing very well. Story 25. Becoming toxic with one ex. I always thought I was rational and logical. I pulled myself out of it after a good month, and she and I could stay friends, but still, I feel mad guilty looking at her sometimes. Happy things turned out good, but I know that isn't the case for everyone. Story 26. Getting divorced, especially because of infidelity, is something I honestly could have imagined a lot of things, but not that from someone I spent so much time with. It's honestly a pain, a type of hurt that I would not wish on anyone. But on the bright side, it does change you for better or worse. For me personally, it was for the better, but it's one of those things that can really make you grow cold and bitter if you choose to let it change you for the worse, to the point where your perception of women completely changes, and you find yourself hurting good women while trying to fill a void. Story 27. I was single from 28 to 44. I knew I would be single for the rest of my life. And yet somehow I met a girl, got married, and had kids. I was on a train going to a job interview, and she came over, introduced herself, and we started talking. I wound up getting the job, and I got her too. But if she hadn't made the first move, nothing would have happened. Story 28. Making 6 figures. Mind you, inflation is a factor now. I will say that I'm past the $100,000. You need to make it a goal to make more money. Get certified, change jobs, even if it is a learning opportunity. Story 29. Getting fat. I was always in great physical shape growing up. Naturally, though, I never worked out. I just worked hard and played hard. Then I lost my knee, and my insurance wouldn't replace it. No more sports, no more construction, no more enjoyment. I gained 100 pounds over the next year and a half. Story 30. Become a dad. I simply never could see myself as a dad and didn't love being around other children. Go to jail. It was the worst time of my life, all for getting some friend's testosterone. The irony of the justice system really kills me. Story 31. Sleeping with a woman. I have always been attracted to men, but was picked up by a woman in a hotel bar, and I decided to try it. I had no problems performing, and it was pleasurable, but it made me certain that I like men. Story 32. Definitely cancer. For the first 33 years of my life, I had been to the doctors twice. I never thought I was someone who got ill. Now I've had cancer twice in 9 years. Story 33. Death by accident? Seemed likely. Death by illness? Sure, okay. Lingering illness? Unfortunate, but okay. Permanent, incurable medical disability? What is happening? I catch a bug and my life turns into chaos. Permanently. Story 34. I never thought at 36 that I would still be working for someone else and struggling in my career. 15 years of working steadily, gaining experience, getting promoted, only to be laid off and knocked into financial uncertainty because of the narcissistic whims of a millionaire. Story 35. Being jaded about women. A lot of men in my life would say stuff like, women are crazy and that's women for you, and other such stuff, generally speaking about women like they're out of line. And I also got a feeling that they saw women as almost polar opposites. I remember thinking at the time how crazy adults seemed, and I didn't get why there was this line in the sand between men and women, since at school everything was a lot more free-flowing. There were still barriers, certainly, but I never truly understood those men's way of thinking until I became one myself. Now I realize that those men were understating things, if anything. Story 36. I'm suffering from arthritis of the wrist, ankle, and spine. My entire life was a run, hike, workout, game, martial arts, or bike ride. At 60 years old, some of these activities induce so much pain that I don't enjoy doing them anymore. I never expected this. Story 37. I had a nervous breakdown. I work as a lead magnetic resonance imaging technician and the stress got to me. I had to literally stay home for 2 months just to begin to feel better. Can happen to anyone. Story 38. Got depression. I knew what it is, but it was something that happened to other people. On a more positive note, getting a cat. Never had a pet as a kid. Never thought I was a pet person. Then I got a cat. Story 39. Getting my gorgeous wife. I had her filed away in Out of My League for 7 years while she shamelessly flirted with me off and on. She's a smoke show, and I'm an average-looking but pretty funny idiot. I have to emphasize, idiot,